have a really strange habit. My habit, and this is going to sound a bit strange, is that every single time I walk by a death notice for a woman, then I just stand, no matter how long it is and how long it takes, I just stop whatever I'm doing and I stand and I read the whole thing. And this might sound a bit sort of morbid or depressing or whatever, but in fact, I find that that reading the death notices of women, I find it to be one of the most inspiring things that I ever do. And something that I think infuses me with like more clarity than probably anything else I do. Because, you know, when you read these death notices, there's no such thing, there's never ever a death notice which said, there's never ever a death notice which read like a CV, which sounded like a resume. You know, there's never a death notice which said, you know, she was a brilliant lawyer. And there was never a death notice which said, you know, she was a gifted stockbroker. And there was never a death notice which had, you know, she made loads and loads and loads of money. No, there's never ever a death notice like that. And there's never even a death notice which said, you know, she had such a clean house and was the best cook ever. There's never ever a death notice like that. Death notice, it gets right to what's most important. Okay, so what's most important? These death notices, they always say, she was a woman who raised Dorot Yesharim, who raised straight generations. So what's straight generations? She raised children, and God willing, I hope that you know, most of death notices say, she raised children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren who loved God and loved the Torah and loved the Jewish people. And I just find that incredibly inspiring. So like I go on a walk and I see that death notice and I come home and it just reminds me like what's important. What's important is this. Important is, you know, raising these kids, you know, to be healthy and happy and curious and passionate and good people, to raise, you know, Dorot Yesharim, to raise straight generations who love the Torah and love God and love the Jewish people. I think the most inspiring death notice I've ever read was also one of the saddest ones I've ever seen, and that was the death notice of my dear friend Chagit Bat Leah, who I've mentioned to you many times in these pep talks. Chagit Bat Leah, Chagit Ben Arosh Lozon, who passed away 2 months ago at the age of 39, leaving behind 5 very young orphans. So Chagit's death notice, it was a very short death notice, but it just exactly described who she was. It said, Chagit Bat Leah, Chagit Lozon, said she was a woman of valor, an Eshet Chayil, who stood at the right hand of her husband and raised her children to love the Torah and to fear God and to love the Jewish people. And that was exactly who she was. She was a person who just, like nothing brought her more joy than her home and, you know, being with her kids and, you know, helping her husband and, you know, I don't know, and she like, that was everything for her. That was really the center of her life. And, you know, and she did have like a job. Like she ran the neighborhood lending society. Not that it was an especially lucrative job, but Chagit was a person who, like, her CV, like her resume, like there was nothing, like there was nothing on her resume, nothing. Okay, she didn't go to college. I think probably she finished high school, but I'm not even sure. But she definitely didn't go to college. She didn't have any advanced degrees. As far as I know, I don't know if she ever really had like a real job, like something that you'd really like put on a resume. But she was a person who gave everything to her family and to her community. And, you know, now that I see, you know, now something that I find like something so moving for me is, you know, Chagit left behind 5 kids. I think the oldest is now 11. And so she had 4 boys and a girl. So I don't have so much contact with the boys, but the girl Anava, who's now 5 years old, she's in kindergarten with my daughter Moria. So I see Anava every day, and I talk with her quite often. And Anava, first of all, she looks just like Chagit. Like I look at Anava and I see Chagit, And that's an amazing feeling, like to look at her, to look at Anava, and know that in a way, like Hagit's still with us, you know. But even more importantly, even more than sort of the physical resemblance, it's just like as the way that Anava resembles her mother, resembles her mother as a human being. You know, Anava is like a real powerhouse, just like her mother was. And Anava is a person. She's like a kid who, like, God is like an active presence in her life. Like, she just like really feels like God is her friend, like God is with her always. And that was just like what her mother was. Her mother would like do hitbodedut, like talking with God, an hour a day. She'd spend like an hour a day, and when she was dying, even longer days, she'd spend the whole day talking with God. Like, that was what she would do. And Anava, she's like that. Like, she just feels God is like a presence in her life. And it's so powerful for me to see that, to know that, like, you know, that Hagit like dedicated her life to family. And that, you know, in the end, like that was really like the most important thing. You know, that is like what is then her memorial. It's like her life's work is now like her. It's like this lasting memorial to her, to Hagit Bat Leah. I read something so beautiful last week on Ish.com. It was a quote from Rebbetzin of Revi Brussels. Explaining, you know, there's a common expression that we say, "My home is my fortress," right? So Rebbetzin Brussels said that every woman is like the guard of a fortress or of a walled city. Okay, she said, but when you're guarding a fortress, like a guard of a fortress, it's like is always looking out, is looking for the enemies from the outside the fortress. But a mother is the opposite. A mother is the guard of a fortress, but she's looking in. She's always looking inside the fortress, right? She's looking what's going on, how our kids are doing, how our husband's doing, what's happening in the house, whether there's like sort of a problem brewing, or whether there's something she should be doing to help or to make things, you know, flow more smoothly in the house. So she's always looking inside to see whether there's a problem happening and what she can do to make things as good as they can possibly be within her own personal fortress. So I want to bless all of us, that we, within our own personal fortresses, that we should be able to do this. I've been doing this the whole week, and I find it a very, very powerful way to think of my life as a mother, that we should be able to look within our own fortresses and to, you know, set up and help our family, so that all of the members of our family, so that they and we should thrive. And that all of us should merit to raise children who are continue on to be Dorot Yesharim, to establish Dorot Yesharim, straight generations who love the Torah and love God and love the Jewish people. I want to bless all of you with an amazing, amazing week.